Sometimes when I'm walking through the streets and just walking around or going to work or running errands, I observe how women and men are moving, how they are walking especially. There are some women who walk more femininely and there are women who are kind of blocked, and those women look a little bit masculine when they walk. I don't know if they are doing it on purpose or not, but my guess is that they are not doing it on purpose, because walking is not only a physical movement. Walking also depends on many other aspects, as we have learned in my former videos. Energy, your mindset, how you feel, even the clothes that you are wearing or the shoes. But of course the physical movement is the basic aspect of how someone is walking. And in this video I'm going to reveal those three main characteristics that distinguish the feminine walk from the male walk. And consequently, when you express those three characteristics more, you will of course walk much more femininely and appear much more graceful and elegant. It is good to know those three aspects. I have only talked about one of these aspects in more detail on this channel, but have not really touched upon the other two. That's why this video might be very interesting for you, and I recommend you to watch it until the end, because I will also show you a few examples. Hello my dear viewers, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here and like feminine topics, I warmly welcome you to subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell so that you don't miss any upcoming videos. And we will start with the first aspect that I have already touched upon in former videos. But it is simply a very important aspect of the feminine walk. That's why it is one of the three characteristics. And I'm talking about the hip sway. The hips are indeed the most notable feature in the feminine walk. The side sway of the hips when walking is a surefire way to make your walk look more feminine. So what happens when we sway the hips is that one hip drops down on the side of the standing leg, while the hip on the other side goes up, elevating the hip on side of the swinging leg. So this is of course a vertical up and down movement of the hips. And this action is even more exaggerated when you see women walking on the catwalk or in fashion. It also depends on the individual walking style. Some women have a larger hip sway and others have a smaller one. But the thing is that the hip sway also happens naturally because of the feminine physique, because of our anatomy, basically. Of course, we can also tone it down or exaggerate it a little bit by our own movement and by what we are wearing. So when we are wearing high heels, the hip sway is more exaggerated because the hips are pushed in an anatomically different position. Also, when we are more relaxed in the hip area and maybe have a little bit more of an hourglass figure, the hips look more pronounced and move a little bit more visibly. And then of course it depends on your own movement and on your own feeling. How much you let your hips go when you walk, how much you let them sway. But if you want to know more about the hip sway, I have made a whole video on this topic where I'm really breaking down the hip sway movement and how you can practice it. So I will just link that video down below so that you can watch it, because now we are moving on to the two other very important characteristics that distinguish the male walk from the feminine walk that you haven't heard about yet. So let's go on to number 2. Another hip action that makes a woman's walk appear much more feminine than a male's walk is the so-called hip swivel. And you can clearly observe that when you are watching women and men walking in front of you. Do that next time when you're going somewhere and observe how the hips are moving and if you see the hip swivel and what I mean. Because the hip swivel is, unlike the hip sway, not a movement in the vertical plane that goes up and down, but it is a movement in the horizontal plane, and it goes backwards and forwards. This hip swivel is definitely happening due to the anatomic characteristics of the female body, of the pelvis, how we are built. We basically can't help it to swivel the hips, but still the hip swivel is not as pronounced in every woman, because it also, as I said in the beginning, depends on your feeling, on how relaxed you are in your pelvic area, what you are wearing, and how your habits have been until then. But the hip swivel is rather something that you will still see, even if it's super small, in all women. Of course, when a woman is wearing high heels, the hip swivel is more pronounced. I will now show you a little bit what I mean. Let's see if you can see the hip swivel. Notice the pendulum movement with my hips forwards and backwards in the horizontal plane. The male walk is very different in the hips. Men are not swiveling, and they are also usually not swaying. Or if there is a movement like that, then it is very, very small. It also depends on another characteristic that we will come to now. And this is the third characteristic that I have observed, and that is very, very different in women than it is in men. The arm swing. And here I will go a little bit deeper into this topic, because it is not just a normal arm swing. Aside from the hips, the arm swing is another notable feature in the feminine walking style, and actually in all feminine walking styles. I have talked about the 4 main feminine walking archetypes in a former video, so if you're interested in knowing what your archetype is, I recommend you to do the test. I will link the video down below. So the thing is that the arm swing is normally directed forward and then drops back. Your walking style will look more feminine if it varies from this in almost any way. So either moving forward and swinging back a little bit more, moving outward during the back swing, or in the case of the catwalk, actually swinging back behind the body. During the back swing, there are also people, mainly women, who cross their arms in front of the body. So unlike the neutral or the masculine walk, the arms swing back much more or as much as they swing forward. And this is mostly related to excessive upper back extension in some feminine walking styles. But if you look at men, you will see that the arm swing is really only directed towards forward. I will try to show you. Here you can see the forward plus back swing that you mostly see in women. And here I'm showing the swing in front of the body, another variation that some women do. An interesting way to distinguish those different types of feminine arm swings is also to watch a fashion show. There are many very famous fashion models who have different styles of arm swings, but they are all feminine. So they all have one of those characteristics that I have talked about. This is really also a matter of style, of walking style. No matter what type of arm swing is your arm swing or you apply naturally or maybe by practice, it will distinguish you very much from the neutral or masculine way of swinging the arms just to the front and not as much to the back. So if you pay attention to those 3 characteristics, you will be able to influence how feminine your walk looks like. But one thing that you should never forget for all of those characteristics, that is really the base, is the upright posture. If you have a bad posture with slouched back or rounded shoulders and your head is not upright, none of these characteristics will really make you look more feminine and elegant. If there is one thing that you will remember with regard to posture, remember the imaginary string that is pulling your head upwards and elevating your whole body. Now let's look at some famous examples and let's see if you can detect the 3 feminine characteristics, but also try to look at that when you're just in your normal daily life. and let me know in the comments what your experience are. I'm curious to read from you and hope to see you again soon. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.